Yeah, I just can't see you.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first of the State of Streaming series. This is actually a first pilot episode, and it's happening live as well today within the Becoming a Streamer podcast hosted by Pipeline. In this series, we really want to sit down, look at some of the events going on in the industry to keep you guys updated, as well as to share some of our thoughts and what it might mean for you as a creator in this space. I'm still Mountain64, full-time streamer, content creator. Got started back in 2011, made the jump to full-time in 2016. Mainly been focused on online FPS games, and I'm joined with my co-founder in Pipeline, Snoopy.
What's up, everybody? I've been online streaming space now for almost a decade, since I was a pro gamer in League of Legends, where I competed for over 4 years, and we hit third in the World Championships. Sadly, didn't make it to number one. Prior to Pipeline, I was at Facebook for 3 years, where I met Dave, and we kicked off live game streaming.
Yeah, and today with this series, we kind of wanted to have an opportunity to, as well as read the chat, have you guys in here with us, talk about it. We've been doing the Becoming a Streamer podcast we started at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it was beginning of this year, and we always talk about what's going on in the industry. Like, me and you are constantly DMs, or whether I'm up in Seattle or down in LA, constantly talking about what is happening in the creator ecosystem behind the scenes, but we never get a chance to talk about it publicly and get other people's thoughts on it as well. So I think this is a great kind of moment for us to both learn and share our opinion on what's going on in the space.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a fun trial to bring it out to you guys. Hopefully you guys give us some feedback on it. Let us know how it goes, as well as where we can continue to go with it, because there's so much stuff going on in streaming within this space that, I mean, to Steven's point, like, or Snoopy. I don't know. Do you want to go by Snoopy or Steven for this?
It's so funny because for 5-6 years of my life, I was known as Snoopy, and then I became the business guy in the background, and then I just became Steven. So I'm easy, whether it's Steven, whether it's Snoopy. It's
all right, I'm going to keep it Snoopy on it.
Cool.
I've been loving I hope you guys have been loving the podcast that we've been doing, interviewing streamers and getting into it, but this should be really awesome. Today, we're going to be talking about quite a few different topics. Some of the big stuff that's been going on, especially lately, is Among Us. This game has been absolutely blowing up for a game that's been around for so long.
Do you know what's fascinating about Among Us?
Yeah,
it's been around since 2018. It's not like it's a brand new game. It's not like, oh my god, it popped on the scene. It popped like Fall Guys, right? Like Fall Guys took over. It was insane. It had a rocket ship start.
Yeah, brand new.
Among Us has been around since 2018, and it had back then like 7 players on Steam. Like, it's like, I think it peaked at like 700 concurrents on Steam back in 2018. And 2 years later, it's just the right time, the right place for a game. I mean, you think about what's going on right now. People are looking for a game that brings people together. They're looking for suspense. They're looking for that entertainment. And now the game is averaging 2 years later since it launched, 1.5 million concurrent players, which for the devs of that game, they must be like, holy what is going on?
Yeah, you know what? I heard them even talking about, they were like, somebody was telling me that they were taking a weekend off, like as all of this stuff was booming up or whatever, and people were like, oh, well, because it was such a small team that ended up even making it in the first place. Is the rise of Among Us, though, and I guess like similar social games like Fall Guys, which I guess you could say is part of that too. Do you think that's part of it being in the pandemic? Do you think it would thrive without COVID and everything going on right now as well, because people coming together with social spaces?
I think fundamentally it's a great game. It's a super social game. So absent of COVID, I think the game was good, but 100% the pandemic, as I was saying, is basically people are looking for games that bring people together. And there's nothing more fun if you're a viewer and you're watching someone who's streaming a game. It's a bunch of buddies playing Among Us, and they're trolling each other. It's just so funny. It's so entertaining. So I think the pandemic definitely contributed to making it the success that it is, because there's just an appetite for this kind of social game in the space right now.
I think there's an element of it personally that COVID, you know, people are looking for games in general, but I feel like this would have succeeded no matter what. Like this type of, maybe not at this time, or maybe not this exact game. Maybe that like gave it an extra little boost because, you know, people are looking for this right now. But like this overall bringing people together, I don't. This feels more like an inevitability to me in terms of the way that things are going, especially with how the game is played and bringing people together. Like the fact that you're getting 10 streamers together. I know this has been huge for me. I've played with so many new people that I would have taken me much longer to even get games with in the first place. You know, yesterday I was managing to play with Pestily, with Cray, with people that I typically probably wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to play with, because you play with so many more people all at one time. Same thing even with so many other streamers on Facebook, that it's a good coming together of everybody into a space that's when you couldn't do it, especially when, I guess to the point of COVID as well, when you can't go to an event or you can't go to a specific space to meet up or have interactions with other people.
Yeah, so I have that quote. You said that you think this would have been a success no matter what. Why do you not think it was successful, 2 years ago? The game's not materially different, right?
Well, I think it's more of this style of a game, and like I feel like it's similar with like battle royales. Battle royales took a while to take off, and then Fortnite came around, and then it absolutely exploded. I don't know why it took so long for everything to come together with this game, because like in June, the average viewer count was like 150 on it. Now it's averaging at like 80 to 100,000 on Twitch. It's like, it's insane how much bigger it is. I think a big part of that, and as well as not even just Twitch numbers, but if you look at the actual game on Steam, the numbers are extraordinarily larger. I think it really, it's got to be the people playing it and like showing the world what the game is on such a bigger scale. So many of these big names coming together, like you got Ninja, Disguised Toast playing in the same game together, PewDiePie coming into the same game together.
Disguised Toast has been crushing it right now. His content on YouTube is popping off of them. One thing, so I think it is because of COVID that it's popped off. I really do. I mean, yeah, the game's good, but I think COVID is the reason it's popped off.
What do you think about the longevity of it? Is it going to continue past this then?
So I think it's interesting to look at Among Us in a game if you compare it to Fall Guys, right? I think in terms of stickiness and the kind of social aspects of the game, I think Among Us has the opportunity to be a lot deeper of a game than Fall Guys. I think Fall Guys is super like low bar to entry, it's very fun, but the depth of the kind of game and social dynamics that Among Us has, I think, is here to stay. I think it's one of those games that I'm always going to want to tune into a bunch of my like top creators playing the game. Mm-hmm. It's so funny seeing them. You never get to see them that way talking to each other. And I think they're obviously, there's a small team, so that's one of the hardest challenges. Like they've had so much success, and their expectations start to go up. Like expectations might have been really low before. People play that for a month and they're like super happy. But then if you go beyond that, are they going to be able to keep up with the pace of iteration? Like if you take a game like Fortnite, for example, like how quickly were they iterating? Once it blew up, they were iterating like so fast every month.
That's what I think the problem is going to be. I think there will be like longevity in this style of game and what's going to continue with it. Like this kind of, it started really more with board games. A lot of people relate it to a Mafia board game. I personally had never played it. I played a game called, I can't even remember. It's sort of with a D, Descent or something like that. No. Anyways, it was like, it's like people are lying within a group of 10 people, or within a group of however many people. There's a few people that are trying to sabotage, and you're trying to figure out who they are while they're lying. This overall concept, like I think this has a lot of staying power to it. In terms of Among Us in general, the beautiful thing is that it is so simple and it's already created. I'm not so sure that their team, because it is so small, will be able to keep up with the demand of content that creators have. Like, I know it's a similar thing even with Call of Duty that I see every single year, is like there's a good month or two that the kind of more wayward players, including myself, will play, but then, or with Battlefield 2, and then you kind of play through a lot of the content, and then it's kind of like, well, people want us to keep seeing new, fresh stuff, especially, and we're already seeing that to a certain degree. Some of the creators are even doing, I saw somebody posted out earlier that they're doing a game of it where all their names are the exact same, and they're just going based on color. And it's like, like people are going to come up with more creative ways because the repetitiveness of it. will eventually burn out. People aren't going to want to come back if they've seen every single scenario play out, which in this game, there is a lot of scenarios. I think it's going to have a lot of longevity. I think a lot of people are going to continue on it. There's going to be a group for it. I see that, but I don't see this game having, super long staying power without some type of new maps, new updates, new ways to play. And that's where I think my guess is some other competitor is going to come in and might get some traction. They've done really good with the memes and everything. And, like the community in general, I'm saying, is doing a really good job of keeping it alive. And I think it can, but.
Okay. So you think it's not here to stay necessarily. There's a lot of things, that they would have to get right for it to stay, but it is an incredible game.
Yeah.
So what do you think makes a game like Among Us go viral?
I think the biggest thing for this one was like the players on it, like the collaborations of even like, I'm bringing when I was playing it, I brought a whole bunch of Warzone names together, people that sometimes I hadn't even played with before, and bringing them together in a completely different setting is like, it's so interesting that I think people will continue watching, because I've tried to play a lot of different games. Even more recently, I tried to play like Spellbreak and a couple other battle royales that are still similar, but viewership is nowhere near as high as some of the collaborations and bring like how much content and unique content that you can create with people that like you don't get to see. Like me playing with Aculite, you don't get to see him trying to lie in games like ever. Like he's a very mellow, good player overall, but to see him in this environment is a lot of fun. I mean, do you disagree? What made it go viral, do you think?
I honestly think there's a bunch of content creators that are grinding their asses off all of 2020 because of the surge in demand that's been happening in online content. Yeah. So many viewers watching, everyone's getting higher numbers than they've ever had, but a lot of creators have burned themselves out on that grind, like making the most of it. And a game like Among Us is a breath of fresh air. Every creator is like, oh my God, I don't have to be good at COD. I don't have to be good at Fortnite. I can just have fun with my friends and people like it. Great. And a lot of creators just don't have that opportunity to meet and like hang out with each other right now because there's no events, etc. So I think it's just a lot of creators are burned out. This is the perfect game for them to relax a little bit and have fun with their friends. And it just comes across in the content they're creating. And I think that's why it's popped off.
Yeah, I even saw that with like Disguised Toast. He did a stream on Twitch the other day, and he said, one of the things was like, if he wasn't exploring new games and just trying new stuff and like had the freedom to do that, he wouldn't have even played this in the first place. He'd still be grinding Hearthstone or whatever, and like feeling more burnt out on that. It is very true. Like I've had a very different feeling playing this game in general as well. We had an audience question as well. Said, since this game that was already out there suddenly burst out, are there any games that are currently out that you think has viral value?
It's so interesting because, I mean, as a creator, you're like, well, I want to get into that game before it pops off.
Yeah. I mean, it was a small pool of people that were in on that one in the first place. I think even with Fall Guys, people didn't expect how big that was going to blow up. I think that's part of the challenge with it. Like, I haven't been personally looking at a whole bunch of other games as of late. I think there's a whole bunch of new ones that are coming out. But I think that's kind of like sometimes those gems. Personally, I really like, I was talking about earlier, Spellbreak. Like, I think that game has a ton of potential because it's it kind of brings so many MMO and like spell based and or like RPG kind of elements rather to a game that's also battle royale. That's, it's these two really fun concepts that I know a lot of people really like and are interested in. Whenever I play it, people are like, oh, what game is this? I feel like it's got potential, but it's also already been around for actually it's kind of in the same space where it's been around for a few years. That just came out. It's crossplay, cross-platform.
Okay, you heard it here first. The next big game is gonna pop off a Spellbreak. So you better
and I think it's got some potential.
Cool. Well, switching gears, another topic that has been blowing up in the last few weeks, and I'm personally just super fascinated by this one. And this is the concept of VTubing. So for those of you that are not familiar, this is essentially avatars. They could be anime avatars, they could be any kind of avatar. And this is where you're essentially a content creator or an artist or some kind of person is represented by a digital version of themselves. And this is happening across a bunch of different genres. You know, there's some famous examples that have been around for a long time, like Marshmello. He's a DJ. He does it as well. They've got the Jabberwockies, which is like the dance group. There's a bunch of different folks that have, you know, been avatars. I mean, take the example of wrestling, right? Like wrestling, you would have a bunch of costumes on, and it's like you were, you know, Rey Mysterio for those wrestling fans that are listening in. This is something that's been around for a long time, but it became a hot topic in streaming in the last few weeks because Pokimane, who's obviously one of the biggest content creators, she made some content where she was a digital avatar in her stream. And the VTubing community, which is the virtual YouTubing community, popped off saying that this is something that they've been doing for a long time. Pokimane is trying to steal some of their culture. And, you know, I was not a fan of it. I think Poki is a fantastic creator. I think she's been around for a long time. She's innovated in a bunch of different formats, and this is her trying something new. And I honestly feel like the community from the VTubing side just came off way too harsh, way too entitled around this one, and more power to Poki for trying something new and different. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, the reception was kind of mixed to it, and to kind of give you better perspective on it too, it's kind of like it's a character that's overlaid on the stream as if, you know, like I use a face cam in my stream. I got my little box popped up in the corner. Instead of that, it's a 3D or 2D animated character that they hire somebody to create an animation of, and the camera is on their face. It tracks them, and so if they smile, if they move their eyes, whatever, it's showing them, but they don't need to, you know, get ready. You could be naked behind the camera and it's going to have no idea because it's got an animated character doing whatever behind it. I did see that as well. There was a lot of mixed reception from it. On the other hand, though, I think a lot of people were really receptive to her trying it out in the first place. Like, to me, I see it as a, you know, I'm obviously as well not part of the community. I don't know necessarily a whole lot about VTubing. But what I can say is, like, to have such a big name checking it out and bringing exposure to it, I kind of harken it back to what we saw with like GTA RP. Grand Theft Auto role playing was around for a really long time, and then you saw massive streamers like Summit and everybody getting on board, Tim the Tatman playing this, and it brought so many people into this world and exposed to it. I mean, you could even say a similar thing to Among Us as well. It just shows so many people that maybe they're interested, but they didn't even know they would be interested in something like this. Take a look at it, and it blows up. Do you think it's a fad or something that's going to get bigger and bigger? Well, one of the original people that had started it was Kizuna AI, which was a YouTube channel that started in 2016. So it's been around for a while already. I don't know if it's going to maintain at the state of what it is, because I don't know that audience or demographic for it super well in general. But what I can say is that there's been many names blowing up to extreme levels, especially on YouTube. I've seen YouTube streams of like 100K views almost every single stream. Bunny GIF was another one that you can look at, that are doing like insanely well, even playing Apex Legends and games that you typically like may not even have done as well in the first place, because it's such an interesting new idea across it. I think too, from what I've seen, it mostly seems to be female streamers that have been doing it, and for them to have a little bit more of a veil of, you know, not having their public information out there. Sometimes people will ask, where are you from? What state are you from? Whatever. Even that, like, let alone your face, I don't think it's necessarily going to be out there. We were talking about Aculite earlier too, Twitch streamer, big friend of mine. He hasn't revealed his face. He just hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube. He still hasn't revealed his face. I'm going to tell him about this and see if he's got to. This is a great idea. You should absolutely do it. No, but I've seen there's like dog animated faces that I've seen, and there's other variations rather than just like an anime character or whatever. I mean, there's a whole. It's much wider as you dig deeper into it. So I'm going to take a bit more of the extreme on this one. I think it is not a fad. It is not a subculture, and it is definitely something that is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. The things that you can accomplish through this
We've already seen there's some of this has started to happen, and it is controversial, but I think the name of the Instagram handle is Michaela. And this is a company that creates digital avatars and like makes content on Instagram, and like they essentially build these personas. One of the most popular bands in the world right now is a band that was developed by Riot Games called KDA, and that is an entirely digital set of avatars that are essentially producing music. And they're one of the most popular. I think they're like second in the Billboard charts. For I can't remember what style of music, but they're popping off. Like one of their videos got over 100 million views on YouTube. I think this is the beginning of something that is going to become more popular. I think there is definitely some controversy around it. Like, what does it mean? You know, like, is it less personal? But there are so many benefits. I mean, if you're a content creator, you can scale yourself in a way that you could never scale yourself before. You don't have to necessarily be like, if you were an army picture or something like that, imagine you're a soldier. You could then be in hundreds of pieces of content in a way that you yourself could never be in. And I think the scale that you can accomplish, the creativity that you can accomplish with this is unparalleled. And yes, there is some controversy around, you know, is this real? Is it not real? Like, is this authentic? Totally get that. I think it's happening. It's going to get even bigger.
Do you think it's going to get to a point where, I mean, because I get the tech's pretty good right now, but do you think it gets to a point where it's like, you know, there's like animated TV shows and do you like the animation gets to a point where it can be real time?
Yes.
Like they're doing shows with it.
Yep. If you think about the VR, right? All the progress we've made in AR and all the progress we've made in VR is you can see digital avatars. I don't know if you put the VR headset on lately and you've like went in, you can see digital avatars walking around, right? This tech is already,
you know, even
getting
like
to that point.
The some of the VR, like I've seen like the VR game where it's just like, it's literally just like a social space that people go into. And I haven't watched a stream on it, but I've seen a lot of videos and clips of like, if just funny stuff happening within it. I saw one guy who just literally just like fell over, like he had like a couch or whatever set up, but he would go into the game and just like fall off of a ladder onto a couch or something, but they don't know there's a couch there, the other people watching. And so, you know, it was people's reacting to that. It's kind of like going into a public space for it. So I could definitely, I mean, there's already some features for that. I guess I can see that. I don't know.
It's happening. I don't know where
happening. The world is going to go.
I accept nothing else other than this is the future. Okay. Do you think more personalities are going to enter into VTubing? Like one of the examples, of obviously we're not Pokemon's tried it already. Lily Pishu, who's another famous content creator, came from League of Legends, is on a bunch of other stuff. She's now doing it mostly, other than camera. She's opting for this. Acolyte, we're going to convince him very soon that this is what he has to do.
Yeah, I think Lily was kind of like had like non-cam days and using this as a way to kind of do it. I mean, we definitely could. I would be interested to see how it took off or how audiences react to it. That's one of the things, like, whenever I've done anything, whenever I got into Battlefield, whenever I got into PUBG, or a lot of this in the first place, is like, or even Escape from Tarkov more recently, it was like, I didn't know how well it was going to work until I actually put it out and saw the reaction. Sometimes stuff that I thought was going to do really well flopped. And sometimes what I don't think does well does really well. So it's got to be a test out into it. But I'd be interested to see.
So this is the question. This is the question. Are you gonna consider doing your own VTubing?
Oh, am I gonna do it? I mean, you know, I think there might be. I don't know if I would do it, but there might be an approach that I could take.
I can already see it. I'm visualizing this whole thing already.
Where like I got. Because a lot of times, like if I do my commanding officer voice, copy Bravo 1-2, then I'll like to hide my face cam because I feel like it's jarring seeing me, the person behind it. Like if I do those videos, typically I don't keep my face cam on for it. Maybe there's an approach where I get like an animated character who is representing me, so people can have like something that has more emotion and more something behind it.
I
That
can
might
see
be an
you. I can see you getting excited about it already. After this podcast, we'll spend an hour storyboarding this out, and we'll get it done. It's happening. It's happening. Okay. The other thing that we absolutely have to talk about is music. We talked about this a couple of months ago ourselves, and we're thinking about all the controversy that was happening around Twitch. And I think, what was the name of the creator at the time? That was it. It wasn't Lily, right? No, it was Fuzzly. Fuzzly had a couple of takedowns on her Twitch stream, and it was a result of like her channel was going to get banned because of these copyright strikes. And it was a big controversy.
Yeah, it was back in June. There was, I think that was when it first started to roll out. It was like Twitch had been doing so many streams. Oh, wait, are you talking about music, right?
Yep, this is switching to music, where a couple of months ago it became a big controversy with Fuzzly. And more recently, we had the news come out where Facebook is announcing that, I think it's starting with partners, but you can now play music on stream. So a little bit more detail on this is for those on Facebook that are streaming content, you can now, they did a partnership, which I don't know the size of this partnership, but I'm guessing it was like a lot of money.
A lot of record, like big labels, like mainstream music labels.
Yep. And they've done a deal where you can play music now on stream, and it's completely authenticated. It's okay to do it. They've done the work on the back end to make this happen. And it's really cool because it's been a struggle. I mean, and YouTubers are familiar with this, and David, you've been familiar with this for a decade. Yeah. It's always been a struggle. Music, like you're always getting, takedowns, copyright, whatever it is, and you're having to be more proactive on it just because the risk of your channel being demonetized is not worth it.
This is where I was going earlier, was that like when you stream on Twitch, at least in the past up until about June, like the music industry really wasn't taking much action on Twitch, which of course is owned by Amazon. So I would think they'd be mainstream enough, or like a big enough company, that they would be more proactive on some of this stuff. Because coming especially from all the YouTube content that I've been doing for so long, is like if you even have like 3 seconds of something, 5 seconds or whatever, they will claim the video and take all the ad revenue, or just completely take it off of the internet completely. So on Twitch, the way that it was working, at least, was like if you played some latest Taylor Swift song or whatever, if it wasn't within it, then it would mute your VOD, which really wasn't too big of a deal because a lot of people didn't watch the video on demand after the stream was done. So it wasn't like it wasn't the biggest of deal. And that's why I was kind of surprised, like, not more action was even taken, but that was when they really started to put the hammer down. People have been getting strikes and stuff taken down, even on super old clips as well. And so it's been a huge hassle dealing with all that. And to your point, now this is something that Facebook has actually created a partnership with right now. It's only rolled out to partners, I believe. And basically what it means is that you can do any music on your stream, and it's it's okay. It's licensed on the content. The thing that I have a big issue with on this is that we don't have like a list of what that music is. And so when I did try this, and I think this is something that Facebook really needs to implement. I don't know if this is even going to be something that is implementable, if that's a word. But like, if I'm doing a stream and it's basically like streaming with like a potential time bomb. Is like if I end up playing the wrong song and then my stream gets shut down because of it, and I lose all my viewers immediately and have to start a new stream or whatever, that's an issue. And if I don't know what those songs are, I can do it, and then I'll learn for the next time, because they will tell you like, hey, this is the song that triggered it, but I don't know ahead of time. So I haven't implemented into what I'm doing yet, because I don't think it's been worth it yet. I'm kind of waiting to see what other people say about it, how reliable it is. I tried it a few times and I did get it to work, and it was really cool. A lot of people really like the fact that I could play music in general, but to me, it's super cool. But I think there needs to be a little more done with it before I'd be like super happy with it.
Yeah, I like this trend where the platforms are working this out in the back end. It is expensive. I mean, you really have to have a good reason. I think it's hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. I think YouTube, for example, they paid out $1 billion last year, or I think it was last year. They paid out $1 billion to the music industry which was essentially where if their music is being used in a video, like a Stillman 64 video,
Right.
that they're getting a rev share. The studios and the artists themselves. And it sounds like this is just a bunch of big companies arguing with each other, but really at the end of the day, it's the artists. That's how they get paid. So as an industry, we have to.
It's like somebody just taking your. The benefit is that, like, if you can get credit for it, then it can be something really cool. Like, you can show an entire new audience all of this new music, but at the same time, if somebody's using your music and not giving you credit and using it as their content, especially if it's the main, like, what if you just go AFK for, just leave your computer and stream going for 10 minutes and leave some music playing, and it's this artist and people are watching. He's whoever is making money off of that potentially. It's like, and that is one of the caveats with this as well, is that it can't be, it's not like you're a radio station now. I can't just stream the music in general. I was reading this, is that it has to be background, basically. Like, you still have to be playing a game, having some type of content, your voice commentary over whatever it is or intertwined into it. You can't just play it unlimited. Do you think, though, that this is going to be something that helps give Facebook an edge over Twitch, especially with some of the recent stuff of Twitch not being able to, play mainstream music so much on it?
So ultimately, I don't think it's going to give them an edge. I think it's going to, there's definitely going to be like, oh, thanks for doing that. Like a warmness and an appreciation for like showing effort on the creator side. Ultimately, I think there is a lot of copyright-free music out there, and there's a lot of innovation that's happening around that side. So the primary thing on a stream is the creator and the content they're creating, not the background music. So I think this is cool. I do not think it's differentiated. I don't think it is really going to make them, get a massive win over Twitch. I think it's going to force platforms like Twitch to innovate a little more and be more creator first, and like thinking of ways they can solve this problem for creators, because the way it works right now is algorithms are solving it in the background, and algorithms always mess up. And that, to your point, the bigger you get, if you've got 10,000 viewers watching you and suddenly your stream comes down, that's a nightmare scenario. So they have to make sure that they're doing a better job, and I think this will force them to do that. I think for Facebook, this isn't just about creators in the gaming side, like the live streaming space. This is bigger than that, because you on Instagram, for example, if you're put music on your story, the fact that you're able to put music on your story on Instagram is huge. So I think there's a bigger play here for Facebook than just the creator live streaming space.
I think personally, I do think it is significant. Like, I feel like this is going to be a really big win. Now, is it going to be something that is exclusively maintainable? I don't know. So, and what I mean by that is, like, let's say Twitch sees this and it actually does have an impact. People actually really like the fact that they can play whatever music they want. They could play the latest album by Drake on their stream. And like, that's a huge win that Twitch doesn't have, that Facebook is getting. Maybe that's something where Twitch actually goes out and gets those licenses and does the same thing. I don't know how defendable that's going to be by Facebook per se, but I do think it's a very big win. I agree that it's going to be minimalized by what I said of, you're going to have issues of songs that will shut you down. That is a huge, that's what's holding me back from doing it right now. In addition, though, I create my content and I put it on other platforms. I put it on YouTube, Instagram, all the other platforms in general. And actually, that reminds me, I actually saw a tweet, I believe it was from Mrs. May, saying that she even got a strike on Twitter the other day from a super old song that was a part of it was like some clip that she had up from years ago that came up on her email, so she had to accept the term. So I think this is just going to be a broader issue, that if Facebook has like this hassle-free where I don't have to deal with claims, I don't have to deal with like my channel getting shut down or strikes or worry about being completely eliminated off of a platform just for playing music in the background, like that can be a massive win, especially for the long term, as those things are ironed out. If they get something too that it's like, okay, well, these songs are not okay and these songs are okay. Anything from this label, there's a quick search for it. I can create my own playlist and like, okay, I can go through my entire playlist and double check that all the music is okay with the system on it. Like, if they create something like that, that is a massive win in my book, because I do think like having music on a stream, not everybody cares about it, but I do think it is something that's good, especially if you got downtime or an intro song or outro song, like that helps overall create a vibe. Like music is such a big part. Even if you look at certain games, some people literally only like the soundtrack like the soundtrack from games better than they actually like the game itself, and we'll just play that in the background while they're working or whatever. Like that is a massive part to entertainment in general.
It's funny because you get artists that are seeing streamers, like I think the example was Ninja. He was playing Logic's music on stream and he got a copyright notice for it. And then Logic actually tweeted back at him and said, dude, it's totally fine, use my music. So it's funny because sometimes even the artists don't know the rights that they have over the music, because the back end of the music industry is so complicated. So it's interesting because you've got artists that are like, dude, I love your content, go use my music, share it on your platform. But at the same time, the record labels are like, you don't have the rights for that.
Exactly. Because they can even say that, but if they've signed with a label, or, there's so much back into all of it. So like if they sign with a label, well, technically the label owns the music. So they're the ones who has to approve or can sell that or can do that in the first place. And it's something too, like this is something that I've dealt with a lot over the years, especially on YouTube. Like I reached out, I got permission for a song. The first like 3 years of my channel, I was using an outro song for my videos, and the artist said, you have permission to do it. Sure enough, now it's been 7-8 years and they've now signed with a label. Now that label is coming after all of my content. So I've got hundreds of claims that I have to go through. They gave me the right back then. So, that works, but the label doesn't care. They're going to keep on hitting every single one of my videos. So I literally have somebody dedicated to going through and reclaiming those as they pop up and other ones as they pop up, because it's just such a time consuming issue of like everything. So that's why like it is great. Like if they've dealt with all of this and they can handle it, it's phenomenal. Like that's what you ideally want. And I think the more that platforms become more organized for it, like even YouTube has a pretty good system for it, but there's always tons of issues on it. And I don't know how they solve those issues, but I think it is a win if you can allow the music and the creator of the music to come together in a better way that really helps both of them, because it is such a win-win in general. Like featuring the content is a win and having the content is a win. So I think there's a good way to do it.
Yeah, my thoughts are that I think this is great. It's a short-term win. Long-term, I don't know how sustainable this is, where the platforms themselves are paying big lofty rights acquisitions, and like how they can justify that investment. I think I'm a bigger fan of platforms, like Epidemic Sound or Pretzel Rocks or companies like that, or Monster Cat is another one. Like companies like that are working directly with the labels themselves, and the fees essentially passed on to creators. Like, hey, you want to use this music, you got to pay to use this music, use it on your stream. We totally endorse it. I feel like that model works better. Just because I don't know how long the platforms can justify paying these massive sums of money. Right now behind the scenes, this is happening for Twitch as well. They're having massive conversations with Sony.
This was something I'm just reading in the chat too. Do you think that the Twitch is actually going to adapt to it? Like, is that something that you'd realistically see happen?
I think they're going to be pressured into it. Yeah, I think the labels, they're either going to have to come up with a decision saying we're not willing to pay this money, so we're going to kill it. Right. You just can't use music on it, or we're going to pay something, because the record labels are knocking on their door, and that's why you're seeing more aggressive takedowns. Right. I think one of the things that's happened in 2020 is music has become a bigger strategic focus for Twitch. They hired a bunch of people on the music team at Twitch. It's grown as a category. You've seen a bunch of concerts and everything move onto Twitch music. So I feel like they are incentivized to solve this, at least for now. And I think we would see like a big deal coming.
I would hope. I think once Facebook rolls it out to the full, at least like level up program as well, and like anybody can do this, and word spreads that like you can stream music too, like that might be a bigger pressure point for them at that point, to where it's like, okay, we have to do it. And I feel like Twitch, I mean, I don't know all the business back end of all this stuff, but Twitch is owned by Amazon. Amazon is a pretty big company. Like, they might be able to pull some stuff out.
I get that, but also Twitch is bleeding money and they're not making money. So do they want to spend more money?
Yeah.
That's the question.
I guess they're trying to bring people into the Prime subscription.
I think
right?
that's
Amazon Prime.
It's a good segue into platforms needing to make money. And recently, there's been a hot topic that's been happening around ads. And specifically, Twitch has begun testing mid-roll ads that streamers actually have no direct control over. So you're streaming, and then suddenly a mid-roll ad pops up in your stream. A lot of controversy around this. There's people on both sides of the fence. I don't think anyone's... Well, there's some people in the middle, but it's mostly a very controversial thing. It's like, ads are bad. Figure out a better way to monetize. As is kind of well known now, Twitch is under a lot of pressure from Amazon to hit revenue targets. The company, it's very expensive to run Twitch as a platform, and they need to make more money. And ads is one of the most successful ways to make money at scale is when you're a platform like Twitch. And this is going to increase Twitch ad revenue. There's no doubt about it, but at the cost of community goodwill. Like, there is definitely, it's very polarizing within the community. The first effects of this we're seeing on the PS5 reveal stream is when they first rolled it out, and people were getting mid-roll ads in the middle of the PS5 reveal. And people were honestly rightfully pissed because there was not a lot of communication around this. It just kind of happened. And my question to you is, do you think this is a good move for Twitch?
Yeah, so, man, it's really hard, because I get that like scaling is so important and they got to make money, but like the goodwill of ads in the middle of it really sucks. I mean, especially in an announcement like PS5, for example, like they're announcing the price that people have been waiting for forever, and there's an ad in the middle of it, so you don't even get to see what it is. Like, you're not there for part of it. It's like, imagine you're at a movie, you go to the theater. Even like, the thing is too, these are even with like people who you're at the theater, and in the middle of it, a giant ad pops up, right? And it's over the plot point of whatever happened, like the climax, that somebody gets killed, whatever. It's over it, and you don't go back. It doesn't pause so that it waits afterwards. There's a box that goes down in the corner. That's happening in the corner, so you can kind of see it, but you can't hear it, and something else is in the middle of it. It's so jarring, especially for streaming, that it becomes really, really difficult. I haven't seen this on YouTube yet in terms of like a mid-roll thing on it, but personally, I don't think it's a great move in terms of the audience and people watching it. And it's something too that I've seen on Facebook as well that they're doing, which is introducing ads as a mid-roll that's putting it down in the corner. You can't see it while it's happening, and it's just happening at random times. I don't know if they can come up with a better algorithm to try and figure out when to do it. I think part of it though is like, oh, look at how many people are watching it. It's a record viewer count, because everybody wants to know, what's the price of the PS5? What's this thing? Like, it's literally the pinnacle moment. And so that's, hit them with the ad. It is just such a bad time, but it's just such a bad experience for it. Especially because the interaction, the live part is there. I mean, do you think it's a good move for Twitch to be doing the forced mid-roll ads on? Because to point this out as well, there are mid-roll ads that streamers can do. They can choose when it goes up on Twitch. They can click the button, the ad happens. They can choose the length of it. They can do a 3-minute ad if they're going to go to the bathroom break or something.
So I think there's a big
middle of it. They can't control it.
I think the big problem here, and why this is an even bigger issue, is one, you mentioned the lack of control, and then it's live content versus VOD content. In live content, things are happening that the algorithm has no context of what's going on in the back end. So it's just like, okay, I'm going to pop an ad in there. And I think that's the problem with live content, is that you need to give the creative control to the person that's broadcasting of when the right time is to pop an ad. If you look at like traditional TV, it's known that you have like a 25-minute segment, and then you have, okay, 5 minutes of ads, and then it's like a 25-minute segment or something like that, right? That's that live framing is understood. And even though everyone hates the ads, that's when they just go to the toilet, and whatever. But they come back and the content's not interrupted. There was an intentional ad break baked into the content.
Right.
The problem right now is it's not baked into the content. It's intrusive to the content. And I think if they want to force this, they have to create more awareness around the person that's creating the content and the boundaries there, and put it in. I totally understand the implications that they need to make money. It totally makes sense, but there is ways that they can improve it.
Yeah, even somebody chat says even they got bummed literally at the end of a Warzone match, the final 1v1 and an ad comes on. It's like, it's so jarring. But that's also why, to me, like, and the kind of my business hat, it's like, I do think that it is I can't even know. I don't know how they do it. I don't think this is the right way to do it. But that's also how YouTube and Facebook are such massive platforms compared to Twitch. Is, Twitch is based around, it's a much smaller company versus the other two as I guess, anyways, right? It's because of ads. Ads scale so much better in terms of how many people see them, and YouTube has got such a good system for it with pre-rolls or with Red. If you get YouTube Red, then you don't see any ads on the content at all. Because they have mid-roll ads, but even that, most of that as well is for video content. And that's what I was saying earlier. I don't know how YouTube, I don't think, to my knowledge, YouTube does these mid-roll random ads on their content for live streams. For videos, those are things that they can queue up. I think they can automatically do, but a lot of times it's the creators that are going in and choosing where those mid-roll points are if they want to do it. I did recently see a post where they changed, so mid-roll ads are by default on YouTube content, and that was pissing some creators off because they purposely don't do mid-roll content, even though it performs very well and makes them a lot of revenue. They'd rather not have that interruption mid-content, but that's something that's now a hassle that they got to turn off for. I have them on, so I don't know completely, but ads are kind of a needed component for this. And that's where, to me, like, if Facebook can come up with a way where it isn't at the literal point when I'm winning a game, that's where they roll the ad, but like they come up with a better way to do it, that's what can make them win, can make the content and the creator actually have more of a revenue base. That was how, when I first started actually making revenue off of all of this, it was through YouTube ad revenue before Patreon, before I managed to come up with other revenue sources as well. It was like ads was the easiest way because I didn't have to do anything for it. It was just the ads, everything got handled.
So I think the challenge is, again, this is live versus VOD, right? So you've got 2,000 people watching at that point in time. If the ad is served then, only 2,000 people are going to see that ad. So even if you have 1 million people tune in through the course of your stream, it's only going to show, the ad is only going to show to those 2,000 people. Whereas if they're watching a video on YouTube and it gets 1,000 views or 1 million views, everyone is going to see that ad, right? It's not like just those that were tuning in live at that moment. So that's one of the problems with live content is ads actually don't scale as well as VOD ads do. The other thing is that they have alternatives, right? Like there's other ways to do this. Pre-roll is one way. So as soon as you tune into the stream, you get an ad. The other thing is Twitch Prime. You don't want ads, subscribe. And I actually think that model
is different from, because they changed it in the past that Prime doesn't take ads away. So it's, you gotta actually subscribe to a specific channel, or you can do Turbo.
Turbo was the one I was thinking, man. That's Prime. Yeah, so Turbo or subscribe to a channel. Either one of those. That is how you get around ads.
Right.
I mean, you're getting free content. It is very expensive for these platforms to host this video.
From my understanding, though, it's still not like, the $12 or whatever a month. Like, that's not even covering. Like, they could do better though if they had the ads on, and you did have to watch a pre-roll every time. That's one of the things that frustrated me the most, actually. Well, I don't know if I'm frustrated more by that, but in a mid-roll at the at a prime moment of content, but like just the waiting to start watching a stream and having to watch a 30-second ad in front of it, versus like if I'm subscribed to a channel I'm not going to get the ad starting to watch their stream. I'm not going to go watch this new person. I'm just going to watch the person that I already watch. That's one of the things that I think is a nice benefit of not having to do that. One of the in terms of on Facebook, but one of the things I really don't like about Facebook is that the experience of the ads even rolling out are random or I don't know if it's random, but it's different for different people. So some people will see all of the moments and say, I don't get an ad. What are you talking about? Or like, I got the ad 3 minutes ago. Like it seems like it's a different experience that a lot of different people are having. And then that's causing even more frustration with all of it. But I mean,
part of that. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, what do you think of this long-term wise? Like, do you think they keep figuring this out? Do you think YouTube and Facebook have a leg up over Twitch already? Do you think Twitch is going to keep up with
I fundamentally believe Facebook and YouTube are much better positioned to figure out monetization than Twitch is. They've been doing this for way longer than Twitch has. They understand how to monetize large audiences very effectively, both YouTube and Twitch, or YouTube and Facebook, sorry. I think, yeah, it's a little different with content and like putting ads and live content for Facebook. But as long as they can, get you to spend time within the platform, there's a lot of rooms for them to monetize their newsfeed and ads and such like that. And YouTube's already been doing this for a while, and they have a lot of benefits from VOD as a content medium and scale. I don't necessarily think Twitch or YouTube cares how much money they make off of live. Necessarily, I think it's more of a marketing and engagement play for them, where they can make more upside and engagement on the VOD side.
With the outcry from Twitch, then, like, do you think they're going to roll back how much they're doing these random mid rolls that they're choosing where they go?
Yep, I think they're going to realize that it's really per sentiment, and that they need to pass off the control to the creator themselves. I think the way they're going to have to, they obviously need to do this. They wouldn't have done it if they didn't feel pressure to hit revenue targets. They'll unwind this, is my assumption, and they'll try and figure out a better way to implement it. Likely, it would be, hey, creator, if you want to be a partner and monetize on our platform, you have to run X ads a month. You choose when you run them, you just have to run this. And then you have partnership reviews where if you're not hitting your ad target, unfortunately, that you're just, we cannot offer you the level of transcoding and all these other things that you're getting a benefit of being a partner because you're not doing your part to help the platform succeed. I could totally see it going that way. And the other option is subscribe. That way it's sentiment is positive. There's a flat revenue share going between the creator and the platform, and that offsets some of the cost.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Red seems to be like that YouTube has for their ads seems to be pretty well received in general. I'm guessing there's going to be an adjustment period for this over the long term. I kind of think that they're going to keep on doing it. I don't know, because I feel like they want to be profitable. I don't know if Amazon's going to keep investing and keep doing all of this stuff if they can't find a good way to make this a big, booming, revenue-based business for them. I'm just saying, like, do you think that they're going to have a way to detect gameplay for ad placement? It seems extremely hard to me, because to create real-time AI to figure out where to put ads, but I don't know enough about AI. That could be a possibility. Maybe that's a solution that they do. That was what somebody had mentioned. Another thing that somebody Shad mentioned, what do you think of rewarding viewers with bits and stars for watching ads? Like, where they get some type of, you watch an ad, but now you get some stars to support the creator.
Totally. I think you can gamify that. Absolutely. There's definitely things that you can do around that. I feel like they could be stubborn. They could be like, we're keeping this. Hey, go subscribe if it really bothers you that much. Because the problem is, for those that pay, like subscribe, it actually they're welcome on the platform. Twitch loves them. It's the amount of people that are consuming free content and how much of that free content they're consuming. That's where they're losing a lot of money. And I think Amazon doesn't necessarily feel like Twitch has to be profitable tomorrow. They just have to stop bleeding money. That's the problem, is they're bleeding money right now, and they just want to see much more revenue being generated for the amount of money they're spending on hosting the platform and the size of the team that's building the platform.
Well, I think ad block is so prevalent too, especially on PC. I don't know how many people watch Twitch on PC versus mobile per se. But I think like as more of it has gone to apps and on mobile, there's more control against ad block. And so that's been beneficial. And I think too, even looking back at the industry when it was, ads were on YouTube videos and people hated the fact that there was even a mid-roll in them in the first place. But now there's like there's a whole bunch of mid-rolls on YouTube videos. And on top of that, they just decrease this. And now you only need an 8-minute video to add mid-rolls, is where before you needed to have a 10-minute video to add mid-rolls. Like, it's becoming even more prevalent on YouTube. And I think that's partly people understand that, oh, I am supporting the creator by seeing this ad. Like, in terms of people getting bits or stars from watching an ad, that's essentially what you're doing. It's not from your name per se, which is where I think gamifying it, maybe something like that could be really cool. But you essentially are giving the person a few cents every time you watch an ad, because that is split between the platform and the creator. So like there's a lot that goes on behind it where there is the benefit there.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot more they can do. I think my hunch is they're gonna roll this back. I don't think they're gonna be stubborn.
I mean, what's your general feeling around ads and monetizations? You're a former, streaming platform staffer. Like, your general feelings around ads and monetization for it as
I mean, I hate it. I hate the idea that ads and monetization, like, that has to exist. But as a consumer, like as like I would love if everything was free and we all just got to have a good reality. Is that's not how the reality is that's just not how the world works, and it is very expensive to host this video and to have the teams of people that are building the platform to support this. The platforms have to make money. They've been bleeding money for many, many years, and the creators, I think there should be a more open dialogue about how, like, things that we can try, and they have to be more transparent around this. I would encourage it's just like a transparency around monetization generally. And I'm a fan for live content, more of the user, like the actual viewer of the content, being the one that is getting monetized. For example, through like subscriptions or things like that. I don't think ads is the greatest format for live content.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big part of it. But with that, man, we're getting a little long here. What do you think we end it out, wrap it up?
I think that's a good idea. I love this. This is the first one we've done. I'm so glad we did it live and just, brought in the audience and got a chance to talk about this, not behind the scenes. We talk about this all the time. It's just stuff we just love chatting about, how the industry is moving, what's the implications on us as a company, creators. So it's good to get it out there and start talking about it. And, I'm just excited to the next one.
Yeah, it was a really fun format. I definitely enjoyed this. Good pilot episode, first test. We'll go back, rewatch it, make sure everything was good with it, and make sure that you guys liked it too. If you guys could give us some comments, some reviews, ratings, as well as check out, the full Becoming a Streamer podcast. You can find it at pipeline.gg/podcast. Check it out. There's a ton of stuff within that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and joining in, being here today. If you watched it live or listening back to it on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, all the major platforms out there. Thanks so much for joining us.
Peace.